Yes, I'm continuing on the video to tell you about the Bible verses that were important for us to realize in dealing with forgiveness. Jesus was speaking to people that Jewish religious leaders thought despicable. He invited them to listen to him. He didn't want people to judge, and he wanted people to realize that they could forgive themselves and others and start over. I'm explaining this to you because I would like to read you from the Living Bible, verses 13 through 22. The father had 2 sons, and the younger son wanted his inheritance early. The son packed up and left. A few days later, after packing up, he took a trip to a distant land and there wasted all his money on parties and prostitutes. About this time that his money was gone, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him to feed the pigs. The boy became so hungry that the pods that he fed the pigs even looked good, but no one gave him anything to eat. He finally came to his senses, and he went home to his father. "Father," he says, "I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son." While he was a long distance away, his father saw him coming and was filled with a loving pity and with forgiveness. He ran and he embraced his son and he kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am not worthy of being called your son." But his father said to the slaves, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him, and kill the calf we have in the fattening pen. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead, and he has returned to life. He was lost, and he was found." And so the celebration begins. So many times forgiveness works for others and for ourselves, for it sets us free. It allows us to feel good again, to feel enthusiastic, and we can always remember that we make mistakes and we're not mistakes, and God speaks through people. I often think of a story that I experienced, and it was a true story. I was 16 years old, and at the time I had just started driving, but my parents were a bit hesitant about letting me use the car after dark. So I had several friends spend the night, and my bedroom was on the 3rd floor of our home. We tied the sheets together and climbed out the window, swinging over to a tree and down that tree, and of course into the garage to sneak the car. We drove over to a young man's house that I was interested in getting to know better, and we toilet papered his house. You take rolls of toilet paper and throw it in the trees. I was thinking to myself, he'll find out it was me, and he will know that I want to get to know him better. So with that said, I went on and enjoyed myself so much that evening, laughing and giggling as we threw the toilet paper through his trees. Arrived home, put the car in the garage, and went upstairs, thinking we had the world by the tail. But the next morning I was called down and my friends were told to stay in my room, and I was reprimanded. How did my father know? He later said, "Well, the car was close to being full, and when you brought it back there was quite a bit of gas missing." He grounded me for a month and told me I couldn't use the car for the rest of the summer. But my mother felt compassion, for she knew that I wanted to get to know this young man better. So she said, "Joe, let's forgive Marcia. Let's not be too hard on her. Let's help her realize that she's a young girl and she can make mistakes, but she can do things differently. I often think of that when I think of forgiveness. You know, once we look at our part in situations, we can do things differently. I also have a 3-second rule that helps me respond and not react as I did that night when I climbed out of my window and took the car. Many times we want to be right instead of being happy. But you know, we need to respond and realize there are other people that we have to consider. There's an affirmation that I often use that I'd like to close with. As I forgive others and myself, I am able to feel renewed with feelings of love for myself, for others, and for God, for it truly is the key to spirituality. Yes, we claim forgiveness and not judging always.